morning, everyone. Good morning. If everyone could please grab a seat, we're about to get started. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, please grab a seat. Don't be shy. There's a couple in the front still. I promise we don't bite. Well, maybe. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Alanis Valderrama. I'm one of the associate directors here at the Editors Guild, and I'm going to be just your MC for today. So you'll see me kind of on and off and running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm so happy to see so many faces in the room today. We have a full agenda for you guys. And just to give you a little preview, we're going to start just welcome introductions and icebreaker, and then we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the event, which is what you're all here for, the Know Your Rights presentation. Then we'll play some Jeopardy to test you and see just how much it is that you learned today. We're going to go into some classification-specific breakout groups where you get to go and have conversations in your classification and talk about some of the contract issues that are specific to you. Then after that, we have the closing in our lunch mixer. We have tacos coming up, which I'm really excited about. And then we have the raffle winners will be announced. If you did not get your raffle tickets, please do so. That was at the front when you first signed in. You don't want to miss out. There's some amazing prizes, promise. So now that we have that, I want to introduce our amazing Western Executive Director, and I'm not just saying that because she's my boss. She's genuinely amazing. Jessica Pratt, please.
Thank you, Alanis. Good morning, everyone. That's awesome. All right, so we wanted to introduce you to the contract staff. It's starting off, as Alanis mentioned, I'm the Western Executive Director. I started as an apprentice editor in the Guild in 2001, actually, and was on the board for about 10 years. Ended up as a field rep and have worked at the Guild since 2014. So it's really, I've met a lot of you. I'm sure a lot of us have also just met over the phone, so nice to see you in person. All right, so I report to Scott George, National Executive Director, and we all do, obviously. In the West Coast office, I oversee the contract enforcement department, so as does Jennifer Myers in the New York office. We also have our two wonderful associate directors, Alanis, who is right over there, you already met her, and Oli Amarias, who's actually standing in the back. We also have 6 field reps, 5 of which are out of the Los Angeles office. Amaryllis, who, right at the back. Anne, I believe, is on vacation and isn't with us today, but she covers sound and music. Amaryllis actually, and just everyone's here for the majors agreement. Everyone enforces the majors and the independent agreement, but the reps also have some individual contracts that they're assigned to. Amaryllis has been enforcing the lab workers, a lot of the facilities, and also videotape agreement, in addition to majors and independent. We've got Eric Kench, who is also on vacation today, so he wasn't able to join us. He handles, in addition, the post-production independent agreement and credits. We have Jeff Graves, who is right there in front of Amaryllis. He also handles the single production independent agreement. We have Jenny Jordan, who is our newest field rep. She covers animation and videotape as well. And Tara Borth is out of our New York office. She covers everything for the New York office. We also have Fred Arteaga, who's right over there and helping us run this today. He handles the low-budget theatrical agreement for the Guild. All right, and George works out of the New York office doing the low-budget theatrical agreement as well. All right, so moving on, thank you so much to our Membership Outreach Committee. Are you guys here? Do you want to give a quick wave? So I will say Stephanie Brown, right there, has been championing this idea for a very long time. She is one of the co-chairs. Sharon Miller joined her this year as a co-chair, and the two of them with the committee, have put in a ton of work for this amazing event. We're really excited in the office. And Alanis, you guys might be surprised to know this, but when we have events like this to plan, employers don't just start paying everybody correctly to give us time to do it. So a lot of this happens at night and on weekends. So Alanis has been working tirelessly. Thank you, Alanis. We're very excited.
Yeah.
All right. And we're really excited for all of you to start really getting in depth in the majors contract. Contract enforcement is one of the most fundamental things that we do as a union, in addition to organizing, right? And it's so important that our members can stand up for themselves in the cutting rooms and on the mixing stages and wherever it is that you might work, and get the employers to pay you correctly per the contract. These contracts have been hard fought over decades. I mean, we're talking 90 years. So it's really important to understand what your rights are and to be able to respectfully point them out to your employer. All right, may we have the next slide, Fred? All right, so we have multiple contracts that you as members work under. The IA is our mother local, and they are responsible for negotiating, for example, the basic agreement. The basic agreement covers things like pension and health, some of the meal periods provisions, various provisions that are negotiated on behalf of all the 13 Hollywood locals. Most of the locals are limited to Los Angeles County. We are one of really 3 locals that have national jurisdiction. There's a 4th now. 839 Animation Guild also has national jurisdiction. But we have national jurisdiction in all 50 states and territories that, of the United States. All right, so the basic agreement covers multiple contracts, which you'll see in a second. We also have term agreements that cover production and post-production that are negotiated both by the local and by the IA, the mother local. And we also have single production agreements that are negotiated for individual projects. All right, Fred, next slide, please. All right, so this slide represents the contracts that are covered by the basic agreement. So all of you are here today to talk about the majors. The majors is very similar, almost identical to the independent, which has a few stricter provisions that we'll go over at another event. In the majors and independent, we have the New York Amendment Agreement. That's what a lot of people refer to as the New York majors. It's really called the New York Amendment Agreement, and it does differ in the majors and the independent slightly. As a part of the majors and the independent, which contain the amendment, the new media side letter also applies to the majors, independent, and New York Amendment Agreement. Okay. We also have the videotape agreement. And you know what I should say? Majors, independent, New York amendment, that's negotiated by the local every 4 years, 3 years. The videotape is negotiated by the IA with participation from the locals. The Screen Story Analyst Agreement, we have Holly back there, Screen Story Analyst. That's negotiated by the local. And also the lab film video technicians and cine technicians, that's also negotiated by the local. All right, next slide, please. Here are some examples of term agreements covering production and post-production. These are all negotiated by the IATSE, and take a look. Right, next slide. These are standalone agreements for facilities that are negotiated by the local. You'll probably see some that are familiar, maybe some that aren't. This is a mix of West Coast and East Coast companies. All right, is that it? Okay. Thank you, Fred. All right, so everyone in this room has a responsibility, along with the staff, to uphold these contracts. And what's interesting about our contracts, being that they are 90 years old, is that there's a lot of practice, history and practice that has come up over those decades that are frequently better terms and conditions than the contracts allow for. What's interesting to note is even though that can help us, it can also hurt us. So if members continue to perform work in a way that undermines the contract, for example, working for free and not putting in the hours, then that can really hurt us, because those things can be pointed to as a historical practice that in an arbitration holds up, and the companies can win if they can prove that our members have been doing this. And giving our members the tools to respectfully stand up for what the contract requires. And this isn't just something that we've implemented, right? These are things that have been negotiated over the decades and need to continue to be enforced. I'll give you an example. Don't take this out of the room. On-call editors, there's a portion in the agreement that specifies provisions that do not apply to on-call editors. Meal periods is included in that. However, lots of on-call editors receive meal period penalties because it's become a history and practice of paying it. And we don't educate employers, we just tell them that it's owed, right? Right. There you go. So another piece of this is that when we control the narrative of how these contracts are enforced, we can fix things immediately. If everyone just started respectfully saying, I am happy to keep working, but I go into overtime at XYZ, or I am happy to come in tomorrow, that'll be a 6 day. I am happy to work through lunch. If you're gonna pay me the meal penalty, this is what time it starts. Then you put the employer in the position to make the decision, right? You go, whichever way it goes, you just have to be paid accordingly as negotiated. And if everybody does that, it becomes the norm, and nobody's left standing on an island trying to get the overtime that y'all deserve. You have a skill set that deserves to be compensated, and these provisions have been negotiated with that in mind. There's no reason you should be working 15-hour days without the appropriate penalties. Okay. So we hope today is the beginning of a successful Know Your Rights series that empowers members with the knowledge and tools to continue enforcing these agreements and improving them, right? We want to improve them also. And we really appreciate you all being here today. If we do expect feedback, this is the first of what we intend to be a series. So you've seen all the people involved. Please go up at the lunch afterwards, mention how you felt, and also please, there'll be a link at the end. Please fill that out for us because we want to continue improving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. We really appreciate you. Okay. So now we're just going to get started with a quick little icebreaker, and I'm going to bring up a lovely member to run it. Go ahead, Roxy.
Hi, guys. My name is Roxy. I'm an assistant editor. I'm a new member of the Members Outreach Committee, which is why I just said it like that. So we're going we're going to do a quick icebreaker. This is a pretty cool app. You guys can go to the website up there, wooclap.com, and then we're going to ask some questions. You guys can submit as many answers as you want. You can add emojis. And basically, the more people say something, the larger the word's going to get, so we can see if we all agree on random things. So the first thing we're going to answer is what word or emoji best describes how you're feeling about today? Great. Love that. Everyone feels great. Caffeinated. Me too, girl. Are most of us feeling caffeinated right now? Yes. Oh, here we go. Caffeinated is still the biggest one. Oh, okay, excited. Oh, things are happening. I like this guy over in the corner. He's like, okay, we have meh. We have multiple different random emoji. Hopeful, ambiguous. Ooh, that's good. Oh, excited for tacos. Me too. Caffeinated, excited, and interested is a good, the most popular ones, and it makes sense. Spectacular in all caps. Love that. Bagels. Who is feeling bagels? Fired up. There's just a rabbit emoji in there. Hyped. Oh, okay, cowboy. I was about to say, not tacos and like caffeinated being some of the biggest ones on there. We have a lot of feelings. We love this. Oh, fire emojis. Loving the AC. All right. Cool. So it looks like excited, caffeinated, and interested are the ones that are the most agreed upon. So we're gonna get to our second question. These are creative. I like this. Let's keep it up. Okay. This should be good. What movie or TV genre best describes your life? Get creative. Period. Yes, drama. Okay, sitcom. Dramedy. Oh. Dark comedy in all caps. Mystery. Ooh, that's good. Zombie horror. Ooh, avant-garde. I like that the two most popular so far are comedy and then dark comedy. Suspense, cinema verde. Okay, Northwestern, post-apocalyptic, queer romance. Bridgerton, I wish. Who put that? Pitch Black, drama, Coven, satire. Oh, these are good. It's almost like you do this for a living or something. Oh, telenovela, that's good. Birth of a Nation, tragedy drama, American movie, where's emo, sci-fi horror apocalypse. Bridgerton, I wish. Action. Okay, most of us are still funny. Comedy is still winning. I need us all to agree on Bridgerton right now. Sci-fi. Gritty LA noir. Ooh. Fantasy. Awesome, guys. Okay, cool. So we've all agreed that we're really funny and suspenseful. Incredible. All right, thank you so much, guys.
Alrighty, we hope that was a fun little way to get you guys warmed up before we get into the seriousness of today. I am going to bring up, we're about to start our Action on Your Rights presentation, and I'm going to bring up one of the most amazing members that I've met. She is wonderful. This is not the first time that she's done something like this. Loves contract education, is a total contract nerd, and I love working with her. And Isabel Yanis, please.
Hello, hello. Good morning. I have woken up and I'm not allowed to get caffeinated because it hurts my tummy. So this is all me, okay? We're going to be here for about an hour, so settle in. I'm serious. I am really excited to be giving this presentation. Like Alanis said, my name is Isabel Yanis. I'm an assistant editor and obviously a member of our Local 700. And this is the second time I've given this presentation, but it's the first time I'm doing it on behalf of the Membership Outreach Committee that's putting on this event today. So thank you so much to the committee for letting me do this and getting a bunch of updates in here because we had a contract negotiation a few years ago that changed a lot of the stuff in here. This presentation is all about contracts, but as Jessica mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different contracts. And so today we're going to be focusing on the post-majors contract. And the purpose behind this is we want to make sure that you know what rights you have so that you can stand up for them in the office, but then also so that we can secure those rights as a union together. And understanding all these contracts, all this contract information is going to be really helpful, even if you land a non-union job. One, because many of the things that you're going to be seeing actually do apply because they're part of California Labor Code, which is great. So work from home is a good example. Also, it's so that you can negotiate better conditions regardless of what show you're on, because you can always get more than what the basis is. My clicker. Sorry. There we go. Okay. During this presentation, we're going to be doing a round of Jeopardy after, so you guys are going to want to make sure to pay attention. And then also during this presentation, I'm going to have some pre-test questions. So we actually have some whiteboards. If I could get someone to pass those out, we're going to be putting it kind of like in the corners so that you guys can huddle up and discuss what answer you think, or what the answer is to the questions that I'm going to be listing. There'll be multiple choice, so you have like a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. But yes, afterwards, you guys will be splitting into smaller breakout groups that are going to be based on your classification. And that will give you more specifics on your contract based on your position. And I just want to note that some of the examples that we will be giving here, for example, are hourly wages, your OT, night premiums, things like that, don't necessarily always apply to on-call editors, and you'll be getting that specific information in those breakout sessions so that you have that clarity. And last to note is I won't be taking any questions during the actual presentation because it's a lot to get through, but please write down any questions that you may have, and we'll more than welcome to answer them afterwards, as well as in those breakout groups. You may get a lot of those answers during that time. So in order to help you understand your rights, we are going to be exploring various scenarios that Local 700 members routinely experience from the beginning to the end of a project. So it's going to be kind of like a day in the life. But like I said earlier, I just want to make sure you guys understand that this is the post-majors contract, which is West Coast specific. And so some of the examples that I have listed here are not going to apply to all your contracts. So if you have questions about a contract that isn't post-majors, I highly recommend that you reach out to the field reps to make sure to get that information so that you're not thinking that everything I say here applies to you, because it may not. Also, don't worry, because I'm going to show you how to find some of this information online, so you don't necessarily always have to bug the field reps, but you'll have a better basis to go from when you talk to them. And one last thing before we do get into the meat of the presentation is I want to acknowledge how difficult the last few years have been in the industry for many of us. I know that it may not seem like contract education is really useful right at this moment, but I actually think that right now it's more important than ever, because we want to make sure that our members aren't taken advantage of by employers who know that we're in need of employment. We want to make sure to continue securing the rights that we've negotiated for many years. Okay, you guys need to make sure to submit your raffles because we will be closing them. Just a quick heads up before I continue going, including volunteers who may have submitted. Okay, so. What do you mean by submit? Did everybody get the raffle tickets? Whoever did not, please go get them. Oh, that's what we meant, sorry. I was told to submit. I just work here. I don't even work here. Wait, to be clear, I'm an assistant. I'm not. Okay. Cool, thank you for the clarification. Okay, so to start a presentation, I'm sure that a lot of us have got these emails or maybe a call in the past before, right? And many times it's gonna lead to an interview, which hopefully you get hired from there. This process does look different for each classification. For example, with assistant editors like myself, I typically interview with an editor, but perhaps an editor will interview with a showrunner or the director. And so I'm curious what classifications we have in the room. Picture editors, raise your hand, please. Okay, cool. Assistant editors, raise your hand. Oh, there's a lot of you. Great. Sound editors, do we have anybody in sound? Okay, let's go. Music editors? Okay, nice. Do we have anyone in VFX? Nice, okay. Foley? Do we have people in Foley at all? Hey. Is there anybody that I missed that we have another classification in the room for? No, we have story analysts. But mixers? Mixers? Anybody? Oh yeah, apprentice. Is there any apprentices in the room? Ah, there we go. Awesome. Okay, so take note of some of the people that raised your hand in case you guys do have the same classification, because you'll bring in those breakout sessions together. So depending on what your classification is and where in the interview process you are, you want to make sure that you are prepared for those interviews. And so what that means is knowing where to access your contract. So if you go over to the Guild website's contract page, this is what the top of it looks like. You can enter in your show. You go to it. Oh, wait. Oh, let's go. This is the first time I've had a really cool thing like this. So if you go over here on the website, you can click on Wages and Contracts, and it'll take you to this page, and you can enter in the name of your show. Sometimes it'll pop up, sometimes it won't. If not, you can also just go over to the contracts and select the contract that you're in, your classification, and it will bring up the information. And so this is the information that you're going to see pop up. And we're actually going to be going over each one of these sections in detail. But I really do encourage you to click on that View Contract Summary button at the top. And what that does is it'll take you to an in-depth description of your contract so that you can familiarize yourself with it a little bit more. If the contract isn't up, what do you guys think you should do? What would be your first inclination? Call a field rep, yes. You want to make sure that you get that information before your interview, if possible. Now, sometimes the field reps aren't actually going to have the contract. Maybe it's because the contract information hasn't been provided by the company or by the IA yet. But I wouldn't freak out if that happens. Instead, a good rule of thumb is to use the provision in the post majors that we're going over today as a really good baseline whenever you're negotiating your deal. Okay, so before you accept the job, there are some good questions that you should probably be asking the editor, the producer, whoever it is that you're interviewing with. I think the biggest thing that I want to emphasize with this is that a lot of times you think that you're the person being interviewed, but you should be interviewing them. You don't want to say yes to something without knowing what you're getting yourself into. And again, I know it's a little difficult right now because we're all like, I would love just a job. But in many cases, you want to make sure that the job is a right fit, because if it doesn't work out in the end and you have to leave, it'll probably look worse on you than if you knew that there were issues in the job going in that you wouldn't be able to handle. And then you would save the headache of, you know, the difficulty of you having to leave, as well as the difficulty for the show having to replace you. So one of the things that you probably will discuss is where you're working from, what kind of equipment you're going to be using, and so on. So kit rentals is one of the questions that you'll probably ask about. Employers are required to provide you with the equipment that you need in order to do your job. So what that means is they can either rent it out, or they can give it to you to use, or you can use your own equipment and then they have to reimburse you for it. This applies even if you're working from home. Now, if the employer offers you equipment and then you choose to use your own instead, they technically have met their obligation because they already offered to give you equipment to do your job. And in that case, you could still ask for reimbursement, but it very well may be that they'll deny it because there's no enforcement at that point. They already tried to give you what you needed. You just chose to do your own thing. However, if they are paying you for it and they are reimbursing you for your equipment, you're able to negotiate that rate. And you receive what is commonly known as a box or a kit rental. As an assistant editor, for example, the most common kit rental that I've experienced is for my laptop. And on the left is an example of how it could be listed on your pay stub. You'll see this in context in just a few slides when I go over an entire pay stub, so you see what a lot of these different little codes mean. But I actually want to do our first pretest question. So the question is, what is the contractually negotiated rate for a kit rental if you use your own computer? So hold up the whiteboard if you have it. Okay, we got 1, we got 2. Where are the other ones? 3, 4. Are those the only 4 that we have? Can we move that whiteboard actually up here? Because I kind of want to get this group of people to have a little discussion. Yeah, if you could pass it forward, please. Okay, cool. So go to the person who's closest to you that has a whiteboard, turn around, make friends. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Okay, ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, hold up your whiteboards. Well, let's see. Okay, we got D, we got D, we got A, we got D. All right, the answer is D. So note of the above. So technically, there is no contractually. Hey. Hello. I'm so glad you guys are excited, but I'm sorry. It's my turn to talk. Okay, so technically, there is no contractually negotiated rate for kit rentals. It's technically up to you to negotiate how much you want. And if you do need help with rates, what do you guys think you should do? Call a field rep. Or better yet, I think you should talk to other workers to see what it is that they're negotiating for the rates for some of those items. Although, of course, you're more than welcome to call a rep and get some ideas. I think talking to your fellow insert classification here would be really helpful. Okay, so another common question you'll be asking about is where you'll be working from. So when it comes to work from home, California does have a labor code that applies to both union and non-union. Which requires your employer to reimburse you for necessary and reasonable expenses if the employer is requiring you to work from home. I'm actually right now required to work from home. There is no office to go into. And so because of that, I'm getting a stipend. And so that is, there are two different ways that you could technically do it. You could just get a stipend, which is what I have, or you could be reimbursed for all the individual items that you're doing. So things like your internet bandwidth, your electricity, renting your space, maybe office supplies. Anything that's needed. And New York's law, it isn't identical, but it's pretty similar to what we have here in California. Some studios and shows provide a weekly stipend, like I said, instead of doing reimbursements, but regardless of the way that they do it, you should inquire on your employer's policy regarding how they handle those expenses. And if you're not sure how to approach work from home expenses, what should you do? Oh, they're getting on. I like how they're catching on to what I'm doing here. It's great. Another thing you can also do, though, is go to the Editors Guild website where we have a page specific to work from home where you can get some more information. All right. So generally, whenever you are being hired, you will either be a daily or a weekly hire. Daily employees are only guaranteed employment for a single day, as the name implies, whereas weekly employees are guaranteed 5 consecutive days of work. You can still work 5 days a week, just to be clear, if you're a daily hire, but it's just not guaranteed like it is for a weekly. Weekly employees have a set amount of guaranteed hours every single week that the weekly rate must be paid. There are exceptions that exist, but they're few and far between. So a good example is like if they want to prorate a week because it's your first week of work and you start like on a Wednesday, technically they can do that, or the end of a show. And there are some other exceptions, but if that comes up, I would recommend reaching out to a field rep to make sure that they're not doing some weird, backdoor stuff when you should be being paid for that whole week. Also, it's common to see a lot of daily guarantees in unscripted shows, which for the records, they do technically fall under the videotape agreement, not the post majors, but that's an example of where you could see people being hired as daily hires. And also some sound classifications where that could apply. Typically weekly guarantees, you'll see those in features and other scripted TV. Okay, so when you're interviewing, something you're probably going to be wondering is whether you can negotiate that rate. To be clear, the collective bargaining agreement that we all kind of fall under is the absolute minimum that you are to receive when you're working. You can always negotiate better conditions. And again, this applies both to union as well as non-union. You can always ask for more than what the California Labor Code asks for. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you have enough information, you should be able to decipher whether you want to actually ask for more than, let's say, the scale rate that's offered on your contract. Scott Jacobs, one of our members, actually moderated a negotiations panel with some lovely MPEG members that I highly recommend checking out. That's on the website. I'm on it. Although I look really young. It's like from, I think it's like 2016, so it's like maybe 10 years ago. It's kind of embarrassing. But you should check it out anyways. It's still good information. All right, so at this point, all your questions were answered. Let's say you were able to score your pay above the base rate, which is great. But regardless, at this point, it's congratulations are in order because you just landed a job, which is awesome. It's now time to work. What that means is on your first day, you're going to have a lot of start paperwork. It should be your first day, although sometimes it doesn't end up being to the end of the week, but that never happens at all. Most paperwork, though, is actually done electronically now. It's not done on paper, which is pretty cool. So I think it's like Smart Start Plus, something that EP does that I've done recently. Also, Cast and Crew has their own version. But some shows do still do hard copies. I just haven't seen it in recent years. Either way, regardless, what you want to make sure is to keep a copy of your deal memo before you turn it in. It would be even better is to actually get a countersigned copy so that you have both their signatures and your signatures on it for your own records. You never want to make sure that you submit a blank deal memo. You want all of that information filled out. Otherwise, how can you enforce your contract when you haven't written anything into it? Now, let's say that you did negotiate above scale, which is great. This is a recommendation that I have when you're writing out how you are going to be paid for that extra amount that you negotiated. You will write that your rail is, or that your rate is scale plus a percentage. This is going to act as a safety against across the board scale rate increases. For example, as a result of our negotiations that we had with our last contract, everyone's scale rate increases by a certain percentage each year. I think it was 11 and then 7 and 4, something like that. But every single year it changes, right? And so what happens is if you don't write it this way on your contract, you can miss out on that additional increase. Because if you were to say, well, I just want to make this much more, and you put a flat rate, whenever the contracts for everybody are upped by, let's say, 4%, if that rate that you wrote down only was 3% more than what the base was before, all it does is raise you the 1% difference. It will never actually go 4% on top of what you originally negotiated unless you write it in this format. Oh, you won't fall below scale though, just to be clear. If we do get a raise, like a 4% raise across the board for everybody, if you put something that was slightly less than 4% and then it goes up, you will be bumped up to that base, just to be clear. It just means that you won't get additional 4%. And one of the things to also make sure that's in your language is this line. All overtime, penalties, sick pay, and other premium pay shall be based on the negotiated rate. This is going to make sure that your OT, your 6th and your 7th days are calculated with the increased base rate that you negotiated instead of the default scale rate. So just to be clear, the idea behind this is, let's say that you have a 6th day and you negotiated that percentage that you said for your scale, or for your regular rate, sorry, your hourly rate. That means that whenever you do have OT or you have that 6th day, it'll be based on that. It's not gonna be based on whatever the base of the contract is. If you don't have this in here, they will pay you, unless they don't know, they will pay you your regular rate at a 6th day, which just means you're missing out on money that you should be getting paid for, because the understanding is that you would be getting paid for the amount that you negotiated. But if you don't have this in here, that won't happen. Now, when you do start a job, we do recommend that you go to the MPEG website as well and you fill out information on the I Started a Job website. Or, let's see, there it is. So here's a little video about it.
Are you filling out start paperwork? Tell the Guild. Go to editorsguild.com/members/started-a-job to give the Guild the data it needs to protect us better. Why does the Guild need this info? To have more accurate statistical data on how many members are working or not working. The Guild controls the final bond release on shows after confirming that all Guild members on the show were paid properly. If the IA files a grievance against the show for back wages and benefits, the Guild will make sure you are included. If they know you're on a show, they can keep you updated with any contractual provisions that might affect your employment. The Guild receives current information from multiple sources: the IA, employers, studios, and payroll companies. But those often come in late or are incomplete. The I Start a Job page is the Guild's best source of information, coming directly from the members in real time. Now more than ever, you can help fill in the blanks in a discreet and secure way. So help the Guild help us members. Do your part. When you fill out start paperwork, let the Guild know. I started a job. I started a job. I started a job. I started a job.
I don't know why, but every time I watch that video, I think of Starship Troopers. If you know, you know. All right, so, oh, and do that for both union and non-union, by the way. It's really helpful just to see whatever our members are working on, even if it's not a union show. Okay, so we have reached the end of week 1 in our hypothetical scenario here, and it's time to fill out your time card. Let's say that it's a prep week, right? So it's really easy. You didn't work any overtime. You know, maybe you got some dailies or something, but you didn't do anything that would require you to fill out this time card like in a crazy fashion, right? So typically, I think people write their time cards like this, right? Do many people like that? Yeah. Please don't do this. Please, please don't do this. This is a terrible way of filling out your time card. Although I have seen many an editor fill out the time cards like this on my show. So the reason that you want to make sure to fill out your time card properly is because when you write worked, it doesn't give you access to all of the different additional payments that you should get. So let's say night premiums, meal penalties, your pension and health contributions, and golden hours even. You want to make sure to have all that information available so that if something is wrong later on, you can reference what your actual hours worked were. And like I said, make sure to keep a personal copy because you are going to have to look for potential accounting mistakes, which we're going to go over here. Okay, so in terms of some technical jargon, there's a difference between work weeks and payroll weeks, okay? Monday through Friday work weeks are pretty common. That's what I work. Saturday and Sundays are the days that you have off, right? But a work week can technically be any 5 consecutive days within a 7-day period. So you can be on, for example, Tuesday to Saturday or Wednesday to Sunday. Whatever your 5-day work week is, the first day is always considered day 1. And if you work one of your regularly scheduled days off, that would be a 6th day in your work week. Let's say that you work both of your scheduled days off, then that 2nd day that you work would be your 7th day. Payroll weeks, however, are always going to be Sunday to Saturday. When you're working additional days that overlap in the payroll week, it's a really good idea to write down a note on your time card that says, hey, this Sunday that I'm filling out on this payrolls week is technically a 7th day. It's just a good little reminder for your accounting team to be able to see that you had previously worked Monday through Saturday, for example, and then Sunday, even though you're filling that out on the next week's time card. Now let's say that you're starting a new show and your start date is on a Wednesday, right? Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes employers can prorate the week at the start of a show. Most commonly, or let's say maybe you take a day off or something, but generally they can't alternate back and forth unless there is an exception. But how do you know what qualifies an exception? How would you find that out if you were confused? You would ask a field rep, yes. So this is a time card from Cast and Crew, and, wrong way. And then this is a time card from Entertainment Partners. I actually recently saw someone complaining about the way that the time cards are filled out, which is really funny because I have that issue too. I highly recommend trying to use Excel if you can get an Excel version of it and upload it into Google Sheets, and then you can add all your stuff in very easily, and you can keep multiple sheets. I just found this out. The PDFs are a pain in the ass to have to do. Cool. Okay, so the next week rolls around. We're in week 2, and you're going to receive your first pay stub on the project. This is a perfect opportunity to check in with someone. Who would you check in with? Your field rep. Yeah, talk it. Everybody say it. Who would you talk to? Your field rep. Yes. Okay, thank you. But one of the things I would recommend doing before you even do that is to run your time card through a wage calculator that's on the Guild website. It's a really cool tool. You can see right here at this website. What you can do is if you spot any discrepancies in your pay or if you're confused, or even if the wage calculator doesn't work out, you should reach out to a field rep so that they can help you go through every single piece if you get confused. You just want to make sure that you have a copy of both your pay stub and the original time card that you submitted so that you can be able to go back and forth and clarify where the discrepancy exists. Also, be sure to check your MPI reported hours against your pay stubs. This ensures that all your hours are going to be recorded properly. It takes about a month for these hours to actually show up on the website, so you won't be able to check it immediately at the end of week 2, but I would just routinely do it every few months when you're on a show to make sure that they're popping up correctly. It really could make a difference when you reach retirement because you have to have so many hours in order to qualify for benefits. So you may not even know that there are a little couple hours here, a little couple hours there over the course of like decades potentially of working. And then you get to the point where you're trying to retire and those hours are missing and you have to go through years of paperwork to find if there's any missing hours. Yeah. 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 So it's really important. Exactly. It makes a difference. Okay. This is new, you guys. This is some really good information, though, so I'm glad that we're covering it. So we're going to break down all the different areas of a pay stub so that we can give you context for future graphics that you're going to see throughout the presentation. At the top here, you have all your information about the company, your employer, your information, accounting information, like the check number and the date. But the main thing actually from this top section that I'd like to point out is under the pay period. This is where it lists the dates of the payroll week, which we just talked about. And it also shows the number of pension hours or days that you've accumulated that week. So that is what you're going to be using to check against that MPI website. The right side of your pay stub is going to be pretty standard every single week. You can see here, this one, the Fed is your federal income tax. Then you have your Social Security and Medicare. You have your state income tax. There we go. And then you have your state disability insurance. Unemployment, just like our health and pension contributions, is funded by your employers. So it's not withheld from your paycheck. And then direct deposit down here, that's what it would look like if you were getting it directly deposited. Also, these numbers are totally made up, okay? Please don't think that these are like real numbers. I'm just showing you an example of how it could look. I know this is some of this is all funky wonky. That's okay. On the left, we have a long list of common shorthand codes that could be on your pay stub depending on what days and hours you worked, what premiums apply to your specific classification in your contract. This is by no means every possible line item that could appear. So you want to make sure check with the field rep if there's something that you don't recognize. I want to point out the kit rental and the work from home allowance that I have listed here because we discussed it earlier. But some other examples to look for in the coming slides are things like your night premiums. Where are they at? Ah, right there. Sometimes it comes up as like a different line item depending on who your accounting team is. But night premiums, let's say we have overtime, double, 6 and 7 days, meal penalties, rest penalties, your vacation, your holiday, when you're paid for holidays. And then at the bottom, you have some totals listed about the amount of money that you made during that week, what you've made accumulatively throughout the project, as well as deductions. And the last bit of information here is unemployment, which is what is listed when you apply. Which is what you'll list whenever you apply for unemployment. And we'll get into this a little later as well. But what you want to be aware of is that your project uses a payroll company, like let's say EP or Cast and Crew. They're technically going to be the employer that you list on unemployment, which is kind of weird. But it's also very helpful so you don't have like a million employers if you're going through the same payroll companies. So instead of, for example, writing like Blast Out Productions or whatever it is that your productions company is under, whenever you apply for unemployment, you'll be saying something like Entertainment Partners LLC as your employer because that's what's showing up on your W-2s. Okay, some more test questions for you guys. How is vacation pay calculated? 10 seconds, ready, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, show me. Okay, we have D, C, maybe C, D, C. Okay, so the answer is D. Now, it's 4% of your guaranteed rate if you're a weekly employee, and it's 4% of your straight time if you're a daily employee. So that was a little tricky, but there is technically a tiny bit of a difference. When it comes to vacation pay, I know as a freelancer, we don't really get vacation days like in the traditional sense. You should be like, hey, I'm going to go take 2 weeks off. Like, it doesn't really happen that way. So instead, many of us get our vacation days in the form of this 4% payment every week on our pay stub. And it's listed as vacation or CureVac. Daily guarantees, like I said, get 4% of their straight time earnings, and the weekly hires get 4% of their guaranteed weekly rate. If you work for a more traditional employer, let's say at a studio or a fixed facility, then your employer may give you traditional vacation days, or they can wait to pay your vacation in one large sum after March 15th of the following year. It's a weird date, but that's what it is. The bottom line, though, is that yes, you usually do get vacation pay. You just may not know that it's there if you don't know to look for it on your pay stub. And if you don't see it on your pay stub, what should you do? Call a field rep. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Cool. So let's talk about holiday pay next. I think this topic is talked about amongst a lot of members, so I want to make sure to iron it out. First off, we have 11 holidays a year now. East Coasters observe Veterans Day and not Good Friday. That's the one distinction. So if you're on a mixed crew, be mindful of that difference. I definitely had that difference earlier when we had Juneteenth and East Coast didn't, and I had 2 days of dailies on a Friday, and it sucked. But it happens sometimes, so be aware of that. When you work a holiday, you get paid more because you shouldn't be working on a holiday, right? But if you are working on a holiday, you're going to be compensated for it. Daily employees are going to earn 2 times the hourly rate. Weekly employees get paid the same amount as any other day, except you'll get an additional hour of straight time pay for every hour that you work, and your golden time is paid at 4 times instead of 2 times. To be clear, this means that if you work 10 hours, you get paid 8 hours at 1 times your hourly rate, 2 hours at the 1.5 times, and 10 hours worth of your regularly hourly wage, because those are all the hours that you worked. So those last 2 hours aren't doubled. It's a little confusing, but if you need help, absolutely talk to a field rep about it. Once you get it, you get it. On-call employees, such as editors, get paid for the hours that they worked, plus an additional 1.5 of your weekly guarantee. This is what it would look like on your pay stub. So if you were to work, holiday guaranteed OT and holiday guarantee. All right. How is holiday pay if you don't work it calculated? Is it A, B, C, or D? Go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, hold them up. We got, there we go. Okay, we got C. We got B. Okay, the answer is A. And it's also B. And it's also C. It is a trick question, that's why I like it. Okay, so really there are 2 different ways to be paid holiday pay. You can either be paid for the holiday as it falls in the calendar, or you can receive 4.583% of your guaranteed or straight time earnings on your paycheck, depending on whether you were a daily hire, straight time, or a weekly hire, your guaranteed rate. So those are the 2 different ways. So the idea here is that regardless of which method your employer chooses, you will be paid 4.583% of your earnings. If you are paid holidays as they fall on the calendar, but you don't experience many holidays while working on that show, the amount of money that you receive in holiday pay may be less than what's required. This 4.583 is what's required to be paid by your employer. If they pay you less, you will receive a holiday payout at the end of the show. That's the difference between the holiday paid hours that they gave you as they fell on the calendar and the required 4.583%. Here's an example of what holiday pay looks like on a pay stub. And you'll notice that says Cure Hall as opposed to what it said earlier, which was holiday guaranteed. Holiday guaranteed is what it looks like when you work it. Cure Hall is when it looks like when you're being just paid for a holiday, not that you worked it, but you are owed that money because we get holiday pay. This is what holiday payout looks like. So at the end of a show, if they didn't pay that 4.583%, this is what you will receive: a single check by itself in the mail, or hopefully